Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Prague office that we turned into a live studio today. So our colleagues had to go on to home office, which they're quite used to by now. My name is Jan Musil. I'm the CEO of LIKO-S. And LIKO-S is a leader in space division and acoustic solutions. Today, our webinar, basically our goal of the webinar is not to give you any vague BS, to really give you specific tips, experiences, and solutions that you can take away and implement right away. One more practical note: if you have any questions or remarks, please write them into the chat, and at the end of our webinar we will do a Q&A session and come back to them. I'm really happy to be here with my friend and business partner Max from Spaceti.
Thank you, Jan, for a warm welcome here at your offices. They're quite healthy, and well managed, must say. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here with us on this webinar. I'm Max Verteletsky, co-founder and CEO of Spaceti. We are world's #1 prop tech company specializing in workplace transformation technology. So we work both with corporate occupiers and property managers to make the most efficient use of office space that you have available. And it's important to know that we have a partnership together with LIKO-S, where we are covering, let's say, the side of making data-driven decisions about this workplace transformation, putting the data in, collecting it, analyzing it, and then managing the space on an ongoing basis, while the team of Jan is actually taking care of the implementation of the partitioning office, and together we saw a huge synergy to combine those powers. And we are happy to start today's session with with my co-founder Akash Ravi, who is going to be connecting to us from the United States. He has been, on this journey from the whole beginning. Together, we met at IBM. We used to be an innovation lab within IBM, working on advanced emerging technologies. And Akash will share with you, the outlook and what's going on actually on the US market, how companies are coming back, how they are leveraging the tools for hybrid workplace management. So, hello, Akash. Please feel welcome to take over.
Morning, everyone, and greetings from the United States. I'm so happy to speak to you today about some of the trends that we and our partners have been observing in the United States as we get our population fully vaccinated and slowly back to normal. I also want to give you a few tips and pitfalls to avoid when you plan your own future of work strategy. Firstly, I ask you to ignore all of the headlines that you're seeing with large companies in the news about their return to work. The truth is that every company is unique, every department is unique, and every person is unique. And the mode of work you choose should be something you iterate on and continually refine for the future based on real data and employee feedback. That being said, what we're seeing is that every single company that we're speaking to has a plan in the near future or later on to put a hybrid strategy in place. It's no longer a matter of if, but when and how. A few things that we've learned during this process is that you really need to understand the dynamics of your organization. For example, we work with a lot of biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies, where there are lab scientists that need to come into the lab or the office to conduct experiments, and also speak with team members from other departments for quick decision-making and brainstorming without any delay. Or, for example, there are also companies with a lot of young families or multi-generational families who are not able to work from home all the time due to the pressures of being a young dad or mom or living in a household with many family members, but they would prefer to have that option a few days a week to get more family time. We have also seen some constants in all the successful returns to work that we have been a part of. Firstly, there is always cross-departmental buy-in. We found it really important to analyze the experience of people in buildings holistically It's not just enough if HR or real estate or facilities or even the CEO makes a decision. The transition to hybrid needs to be cross-departmental, and each team needs to bear in mind the interactions that each person will have at home and also in the office. Secondly, safety and trust are always conveyed to employees. Every company that we've worked with has put in place a health policy or a health check, which incidentally can be set up and communicated by the Spaceti application, that everyone has to agree with before returning to the office. This builds trust and makes people feel at ease being together after a year of stress and loneliness. Last but not least, one thing I will leave you with is that done is always better than perfect. Your employees will appreciate that you proactively put in place some strategy and clearly communicated it to them, rather than just waited to see what other companies are doing or what you read on the news. Thank you very much. And please let me know if you have any questions or comments to anything I just talked about or presented. I left my email here and you can feel free to contact me at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Akash, very much for an inspiring session. I totally agree on your word that done is better than perfect, because right now we are entering a historic moment when the biggest comeback in history to offices is happening. Most of clients that we are talking to across Europe and North America are planning to return either over the summer or towards beginning of September, and they plan to stay and continue in a new hybrid type of model, where it's no longer going to be just about a single space, but it's going to be about ecosystem of spaces, and that's why it becomes really important to have the right tools to actually manage this type of environment and plan out the time between working from office, from a co-working center, working from home. It's a new type of settings. So what we are seeing on the market is actually an accelerating adoption of customers from small SMEs to large enterprise clients, like you will see later on today throughout the webinar, who have chosen to be proactive in solving these problems and needs for transparency and safety throughout the return of people to the offices. What do you think, Jan, about this?
And Max, I know that when we were talking, you also mentioned to me that when you're comparing the approaches of, let's say, your European clients and your American clients, that the American clients are much faster to adopt. And you mentioned some project in Boston, which they managed to do it very, very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. So we have one of, throughout the pandemic, we entered the US market, which was, a very unusual strategy, and what happened that our first customer happened to be a company called Red Thread that managed to implement our software technology to enable return of 25% of the workers, because they need to perform some sort of physical work, so they needed that type of environment, and they needed to implement proper contact tracing, etc. And now what we are seeing that a year from now, this trend is becoming really mass adopted, as companies no longer are in perception that, okay, we will have to be on remote work forever. No, you actually need to have a physical space. The definition of that space is going to change. You will probably need to redesign, reshape, into more, let's say, have less fixed, open desks, to have more flexible shared desks and resources overall, while transforming the rest to be more collaborative zones in such a manner that it is really attractive for people to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I must totally agree with you and agree with Akash. I mean, I think there is no universal solution which can be applied to everybody. Any type of organization from everybody is different, and the needs of all the different teams are very different. So I think the only way, and what Akash mentioned, is done is better than perfect, is just to try it, to go ahead, to try to think about it, discuss it with the people, analyze it, test it, then analyze it again, adapt. I mean, that's pretty much it. And I think whoever is still waiting really needs to get started very quickly. And I'm also very happy that Akash mentioned, let's say, because when we're specific companies like laboratories, because when we're talking about office spaces, we're kind of always thinking about, you know, IT companies or consulting companies who, for them, it's really very simple to switch to remote models. But when we go to these, especially for example, manufacturing companies, you know, these teams, they basically never left the office even during the pandemic, because they had to stay with their manufacturing teams. And there I see also a lot of changes happening, and actually this was kind of a sector which was forgotten because these office spaces were not so well designed and executed. And now I think they're also adapting to this and really changing the way they work and the environment they work in. So I'm really happy that we are able to use our kind of global network and our global experiences so that we can really share the knowledge. So the next guest which we have invited to speak is Darren Wicks from Consilio Group. Consilio Group is our partner on the East Coast. They are an office fit-out contractor based out of Boston. And I know that Darren has personally, with his team, been involved in many retrofitting of the offices during the past few months, where, as we just mentioned, Boston area or the East Coast area in America has been very quick to adapt and to make the changes to allow employees to feel secure to come back. So Darren, please share with us some specific experiences of yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Darren Wicks from the Consilio Group. We're pleased to work closely with LIKO-S to distribute their products in the US market. So we've seen a major shift in how office space is being designed, built, and utilized in the US market due to the pandemic. No one wants to commit to a long-term lease, and if they do, leadership wants to be sure the space is flexible and easily reconfigured for future use. Will the future require everyone to be in the office? Will the office be a place for once-a-week collaboration? Or will it be somewhere in the middle? Does co-working and touchdown space play a role? I think that is what everyone's trying to answer. Companies don't want to be tied down long-term. If they need to do something, they want to make sure it can be easily changed for future requirements. Well, I'm sure this isn't much different than what's being said globally. I want to show you a couple of examples of what our clients have been doing and what LIKO-S and the Consilio Group are doing to help. So the Consilio Group has been enlisted to conduct a study with a boutique co-working organization. This client recognized that while co-working is a very new way of getting work done, it may still need to change due to the pandemic. Co-working was introduced as a way for companies to quickly scale up and down based on headcount fluctuation. While this was an advance, it won't work for organizations whose employees want to work where they want and when they want. So the study was to figure out how LIKO-S partitions can play a role in allowing employees to check into office and conference space when they want and for the amount of time that they need. Companies only want to pay for the time and space they use hour by hour as opposed to month by month or year by year. This is a completely new way of thinking about how we use space. Fortunately, LIKO-S and the Consilio Group are well positioned to be able to help them. So our next example, a subsidiary of one of the largest and oldest personal computer firms approached us as they want to create flexible pods that can be easily reconfigured, relocated, or adjusted depending on future needs. One of the challenges is the need to have these dropped in a white box space without the cost of changing fire sprinkler, heat, air conditioning, or lighting. They were struggling to find something that worked from the other major manufacturers at a price point that made any sense. Fortunately, LIKO-S has a really unique method of allowing walls to quickly erect in a freestanding fashion within a space. We worked closely with the client to design a solution that they never would have thought they needed prior to the pandemic. While this is a couple of examples, we've seen many other ways that consultants and manufacturers have had to adapt to the new way work is being done. We really have to say that we're excited to be a partner with LIKO-S in solving some of the largest problems of the workforce today. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Darren, for joining us from very early morning in the US. I mean, this is really following up on what we just discussed before, that it's good to try and test and adapt the offices to the new normal. These individual workspaces is a thing that we have been really meeting requirement for a lot in the recent months, especially with the necessity to rebuild, the walls without changes to HVAC systems and so on. So basically, there's kind of two ways to do this. One way is what Darren was showing you, so creating individual modular office stations, office spaces, where people can work and can be kind of separated. Actually, this solution, it might seem very costly, but in the end, it's very cost efficient and it doesn't need to be very expensive. This is, for example, something that we did in our own offices in headquarters of LIKO-S, right pretty much, I think it was in May of last year. So we were very quick to make these changes, and we allowed our people to come back to the offices in May, which was basically right after the first wave of the pandemic hit, because we created a space where they could be safe and comfortable at the same time. And for us, for our size offices, it only cost about $1 million, including, $100,000, including all the technology for video conferencing. And then there is basically a second way how to create these individual spaces are modular pods, which is a solution which is even more flexible, because these pods are on wheels and you can basically move them around the offices and kind of have the office not just fulfill the requirements of your teams right now, but also be prepared to the changing requirements in the future.
I mean, we have seen this also even in pre-pandemic world. So, for example, one of our customers, L'Oreal in Germany, they have used the technology to better understand and actually transform their workplace. So they had 10,000 meters squared of office buildings with a fixed ratio of 1 employee per desk. And after they analyzed and realized that that space is not being, used efficiently, talking about cost efficiency, you have, that inefficient use of space that doesn't allow you to unlock the full amount of productivity. So they've managed to move to a more flexible type of environment. When they claim back 20% of the open desks, they totally, redesigned, reconstructed to create more collaborative zones, silent zones, different lounge areas, which would enhance the productivity and well-being of their employees, while actually increasing the capacity by 15% of fitting in more people into that same environment. And what, we have seen over and over again, that if you combine that, that data insight, for example, on the meeting rooms, where you're able to understand that it's actually, it might seem important to have, a large meeting room, or you have typically a few of them. But when you look at the data throughout the day, how it is being used, even though it is utilized, let's say, by one person throughout the full day, but if you look at the occupancy rate and efficiency of that, you start to realize that it's better to have, split it into 2 or 3 meeting rooms at the same time. So yes, that's really relevant comment in nowadays world.
Perfect. And next we would like to welcome another guest of ours, which will be from CBRE, Mr. Filip Muška. CBRE are global consultants for commercial spaces, both at the design as well as the build stage. And Filip is basically going to share with us their experience of adaptation of their own offices in Prague. So this is quite a unique thing, that a company who's designing and building offices, how they basically had to adapt themselves. Usually this is, whenever you specialize in something, when you do it for yourself, you do it the worst. I think this wasn't the case of CBRE. So let's hear from Philip.
Hello everybody, my name is Filip Muška. I'm working as a workplace consultant in CBRE, Czech Republic. And I would like to share with you some of our recent experience and the solution that came out of it. As many of you, during the pandemic, we were facing kind of challenging situation. A lot of our people needed to start from home pretty instantly, and we have decided to utilize or leverage this opportunity and run some internal survey to find out, what was the biggest challenges, or what was the the major issue people had to face. And also we were asking what is your experience regarding the home office? How many times you would like to work from home and how many times you would like to work from the office during the average week? And based on the results, we find out that the situation will be never the same like before the COVID, right? So we know that most of the people still would like to use home office regularly every week, and we find out that for 200 people we would need about 120 workstations. But this is not the only change, as we used to have activity-based working environment. So for every different kind of activities, you can have different kind of environment to, use it in most efficient way. We find out that, for example, our focus rooms now is being used for the video conferencing, not for the focused work itself. And if somebody using it for the focus work, they are struggling with disruption from the other colleagues, because as those focus rooms are real close to the open plan, people are kind of used to just jump into the space and ask colleague who trying to focus for some maybe 5-second question. But this disruption is really complicated for people who trying to focus. So we decided that we will turn our regular open space, or some part of the regular open space, into the focus area, which we call library. And it's really efficient, because we will just change the regular open plan workstations into large closed area with some rules that, for example, nobody can have a phone calls within the zone, or loud discussion, or anything which can be disruptive for the people. And also, the negative effect that somebody just enter the room, doesn't matter if you're focusing or not, will disappear, right? Because the zone itself is differently designed. It's large area, and people instantly know when entering the zone that there is some different arrangement. So this is great. We know it because we already did it for some of our clients, and also some of other CBRE offices did it, and it works very well. And another change we decided to do is that we find out that most of the meetings will be hybrid. So part of the people will be physically present together in the office, but the second part will be joining them virtually. So as the result, we know that the size of the meetings, or physical size of the meetings, will be reduced. We decided to change our biggest meeting room into the collaboration and informal meeting facility. We call it Coworking. We decided to do it because most of the people said that during the pandemic and during the working from home, they are missing really the social contact, right? They are missing their colleagues, their friends in the office, and they are missing the non-working topics to be discussed and building relationships. So we decided to create this area for this kind of work, for this kind of discussion, maybe really non-work related, but the zone itself is equipped by screens, by beamers. It offers different type of the the zones, so every different kind of group or different kind of purpose can fit in. And this is something we have changed. So this is something we are taking out from the pandemic situation and from the pandemic experience. So reducing the overall space, creating some informal space for informal meeting and collaboration without necessary to book it, and creating the large area for the focus work during the day. So this is it. Hopefully I can bring some inspiration for you, and I wish you best luck in this really demanding and difficult times. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much to Filip Muška from CBRE. There was a lot of interesting and specific things that they did in their office spaces. I think one of the issues which is kind of universal, or which we see in our clients as a problem that they're facing when returning to the offices, is basically the lack of designated spaces. Dedicated spaces, meaning spaces, either meeting rooms, however nowadays more used as a focus rooms or video conferencing spaces. So this is something that quite a lot of companies, when they're talking about retrofitting their office spaces now, it's usually basically adding more of these rooms, and when they're doing that, what we try to kind of point out to them is to really focus on the details of the acoustics, because there's basically nothing worse than spending a lot of money to create a focus room where you basically want to be isolated from the noise around you, and then closing the doors and basically hearing everything from the other room. So the soundproofing of the partitions is a key thing, and also the doors. But also the room acoustics, the actual absorption of the materials inside the room is very important nowadays, especially for the video conferencing rooms, where if this is not solved well, it really very much negatively affects the sound quality for the video call. So you can have the best kind of technology, but if you don't solve the room acoustics inside, you're not going to make the full use of it, especially when you go to a bigger group of people video calling from the same space. So,
and also what happens when you're a big group of people for a long time in the same meeting room, your CO2 level rises, as there is actually studies done that if you are at a level of around 1,500 particles per million of CO2 in the air, you're feeling same as if you have drank 3.5 glasses of red wine, which
sounds good.
Yeah, and it impacts your productivity depending on the time of the day, of course.
That's probably why we don't drink wine at work, right?
Yeah, and it's important to say that that this type of data, they need to be democratized. So it's really important for activity-based working that there is the quality of that space is up to a certain level, that you are ensuring that your teams can work productively, they can feel healthy and safe in that environment. So with CBRE, we've done multiple projects across Europe, in the UK, in Germany, and here in Czech Republic. They use our technology, so it is really enabler how you can combine quantitative data points about the quality of your space with qualitative research and surveys that they manage to do together with their employees to adapt to this new normal dynamic activity-based workplaces.
Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot, Max, for mentioning the air quality, because this is something that, again, a lot of our clients have been focusing more and more, and just frankly because the people require it more. They're more aware of their environment. They're more aware of their own health and fitness, so I hope that we're going to see more and more greenery coming into the office spaces. The biophilic design. Because the greenery actually solves many of the issues you mentioned with air quality, as well as acoustics, dust, and air humidity. It increases air humidity, which has a major effect on reducing the transmission of virus or bacteria. And in the end, if you actually think about it, greenery is very cheap if you compare it to the benefits that it brings. So things like solutions like the green walls. I mean, this is on a very small space. You are able to plant hundreds of plants, which you probably wouldn't do it in a small planters around the offices, and it's not that expensive anymore. And the maintenance is something that a lot of people are fearing. Of course, it can be done professionally, but in the end, it's just plants, the same plants that you normally use at home. So in the end, it can be also some kind of a therapeutical experience for the workers in the office to take care of the plants in the offices, because that's the life which we have there.
Yeah, and it's perfectly setting the stage to one of the next hosts that we have, Deloitte, that have adopted the technology, starting from things like fitness lockers, talking about fitness, and they've implemented the systems that allowed, digital opening and the sharing of the lockers. So, for example, if you are commuting by bike, you can leave your things, or if you want to go to a fitness center, you can actually, change there within the corporate, HQ facilities, where we've implemented in the C headquartered in Prague. And it's also, a great example of how, it can go from solving, one particular problem, which was started by democratizing the use of parking space, where they had a certain limited amount of, I believe, 200 parking lots. And then, they've opened it up to more than 1,000 people. So now I would love to welcome on stage Ms. Gabriela Holodňáková from Deloitte. Gabriela, thank you so much for your time. And we are happy to welcome you here. Hello.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Holodňáková. I work for company Deloitte, and I would like to show you our digital application, mobile application called the Space. It's an application which helps us to manage the building, to get the information about the building. So I will take you through inside the application and show you the functionality. So let me introduce our application, the Space, which we use in our building. So I will go through each functionality and give you a brief overview. What does it contain? So building info is a useful functionality about the building. It's a plain text. We basically offer this to our newcomers who join company Deloitte. Contacts, very useful that the employee has emergency and important contacts in on one page. Nearby places, users can see restaurants which are in the area where our office is, or they can also find some shops or doctors or services that are offered in that area. This functionality is connected to Google Maps, so it gets always you get the latest information. Special offers. It's used by our marketing department or by our office management, where special deals which Deloitte can offer, which Deloitte has with the vendors, and some of the deals can be offered to our employees. So that's where we post this information. Right. Okay, other functionality, ACS, this functionality, what you can see is actually my virtual card, which allows me to enter the building and also enter the spaces in our office. This functionality basically is connected to our security system. So that means if my access would be restricted, this is going to be also managed by the application. So this is it. My meetings, that's where the user gets overview of meetings organized for that day or for tomorrow. It's connected to Outlook, so I got basically the same information. I can make an appointment from the application. I can book a room. And if I make an appointment from the application, it gets directly to Outlook, so it's visible over there as well. Parking, that's where the user can see the number of, in the top of the screen, user can see how many parking lots we have, how many parking lots are free so far. The user can also go to map and get the actual information of the free space or the occupied. So it's useful that the user doesn't need to drive the car and find a spot. The other information which is useful is, in our case, employees are, the parking lots are chargeable. So employees are paying for that parking of usage of the parking lot, and we have a special calculation behind, and the user can see, what's the status, how many hours is left for that price, and how many hours I've already parked. Other useful information is history, where I can see all my history of my parking charges. Right. Elevators, I can use the application to call the elevator by selecting the floor, place the mobile phone to the elevator panel where there is an NFC tag, and the elevator would get called. Lockers. In our building, we have lockers which the employees are entitled to use. The lockers are not connected via wire, so that means in the past we didn't have any relevant information, how many lockers is used, who is using the lockers, etc. So by having the application, now we get the information, because every employee, if he wants to allocate a locker, he has to firstly assign the locker by using the application, and then the locker can be operated either by the application for opening and closing, or by our plastic entrance card or identification card. So that's it. And also in our building, we have two pools of lockers. One pool is a lockers placed next to fitness, and then the other pool is lockers, in the building. The reason why we have those fitness lockers separated is because the demand for the lockers is higher than the offer. So we are actually asking the usage of the locker is chargeable. The calculation behind is that every employee is entitled to have 100 hours free of charge, and if he uses 100 hours in the month, then every extra hour over 100 is chargeable. So the operation of the fitness lockers is the same as I mentioned before, and you see in the screen billing. That's where I will see my status, if I've already used my free charge hours, the 100 hours, or if I've already used more than 100 hours, and I will be charged for that locker. Daily menu. In our building, we have a restaurant, and this is basically the daily menu the restaurant offers. Excuse me, I pressed the wrong button. And other useful functionality is the map. Employee can select any floor, and it gets displayed, you know. So if I'm looking for meeting room, if I'm looking for an office of our partner, I can find it in the map. And also there is a functionality of offline navigation where I can select place where I stand and select the place where I want to go, and the application will navigate me there. Another functionality is a report facility issue. If the user finds some discrepancies in the building, you know, he can basically send a message by using the application, and he can attach photo, and this message will go to office management, and the office manager will take care of it. And also the user who posts the news or the report will receive an email into his Outlook by saying that, you know, somebody from office management took care of the issue, and once it's resolved, he also gets an email that this issue has been resolved. And basically that's it, and we are very happy to have this application. One of the functionality which I couldn't show you in the application are the tablets which are placed in front of every meeting room. It shows the users what meetings are scheduled in that particular room and who scheduled them and the time of the meeting. So the other functionality which the tablets offers is to make an ad hoc meeting for 10, 20, and 30 minutes. So if I see that the room is empty, I can basically book the room directly from the tablet, and this information gets posted into Outlook. So just to be sure that this meeting room is not going to be booked by anybody else from Outlook. Okay, so that's one of the functionality. The other functionality which the tablets has is to order a refreshment. Those tablets are placed in a client area, so the users can book or order refreshment from the tablet, and this information gets to the receptionist, and then the receptionist does his job. The other functionality which the tablets offer is in the client area, you can see who is the organizer of the meeting, and in the area inside Deloitte, you can also see who is organizing the meeting, and you can see the name of the meeting. So I hope that this presentation was useful, and I hope you will enjoy the application if you will use it in your cases, and have a good day and enjoy the nice weather. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gabriela Holodňáková from Deloitte. We appreciate you sharing, you know, the insights and even showing the live application on your building. I believe, you know, from Spaceti's perspective, it's one of the great examples of how we see the digitalization framework. When you're starting from, let's say, a passive mode of digital building, when you're starting to collect data about the parking, about the air quality, etc., then you move it into an active mode where you share this application with your people, so they could actually, you know, do all of these great things through booking, you know, meeting rooms, booking parking spaces, etc. And the peak is the interactive digital building. It's where you integrate with different pieces of the legacy infrastructure in the building, such as lockers, such as access management systems, such as elevators, so you can enable a fully, you know, touchless and free experience for your employees that encourages, that helps. And I believe that Deloitte here was one of the pioneers who showcased that you can do more with the fixed amount of space that you have, even despite the demand that is fluctuating, and it's going to be a more common type of scenario. Be it parking spaces, be it desks or meeting rooms. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, more with less. That sounds like a good concept. And in the end, it's usually, when we talk about digitization of buildings, it kind of really nowadays sounds like a buzzword. But I think it's important to use to look at the actual use and the actual applications and basically the everyday issues it solves for the users. It's usually just small things, but they create a big impact on the life of the people. So I know from our own experience in our own company, when we use the system, there's basically two things which I think are really great in nowadays times. One is that when I end the meeting, there is a button to call for the cleaning services. So whenever we are leaving a meeting room, we can be sure that it's been sanitized, and whoever comes after us, gets a fresh and hygienically good space as well. And another is the call for IT help. With the AV technology that we have inside the meeting rooms, not everybody is maybe so skilled at all the technology. So, when you instead of calling, emailing, who knows who, especially when you're visiting the meeting room, or if it's a bigger company, this saves a lot of time. One more thing which we're solving right now is the display of this information is usually in the meeting rooms is outside of the meeting room. So outside on the tablet you can see the time of the meetings and check in for your own meeting. But when you go inside, pretty much no meeting rooms have this information displayed inside, which is a problem because you kind of lose track of time. You don't know how much time you have got left, or if you are able to prolong the duration of the meeting. So this is what we're trying to do, is kind of integrate it with the AV technology, with the smart eye wall, so you can directly display the information inside, and you can do the action, so you can prolong the meeting or call for help if necessary.
And if you have, take a look at this AV technologies, this is a great example how you can leverage the existing infrastructure and, update it with some of the additional, software cases, etc. So, for example, if you look at the cameras, we have integrated, multiple camera vendors, including, for example, Cisco. So if you have the AV equipment camera, you can draw the data about, for example, space occupancy and utilization straight from that device. And it works, really seamlessly within your IT infrastructure and ecosystem. And just to mention, also, a real interesting case, regarding Deloitte that came as an insight and as a unique, let's say, case was the way they used lockers, both for when people came into the office, let's say commuting by bike, so they use the lockers for fitness purposes, or throughout the pandemic they had project teams that work on specific assignments, let's say with confidential documentation, and they had to actually physically come on certain days a week. So they used that locker to put and share that that information, the documentation, or for example some equipment. And then their colleagues picked it up on the day after. So you had really safe experience from the perspective of return to work.
Yeah, that's great, and I mean it's really nice to hear these success stories of the companies adapting quickly. And basically, I think what's kind of changing is that at the start of the pandemic, most companies thought, okay, we kind of we're going onto home offices. We're not going to be using offices anymore. We're going to save money. But I think this has shifted. The view has shifted now, whereas they discovered we need to use the offices, but we need to use them in a different way. We need to find the real reason why we're using the offices, and we need to adapt the offices to that. So they're actually investing more time, more effort, and usually they have to also invest now money to adapt the offices. This is I think necessary. It doesn't have to be huge amounts of financial funds, but there has to be changes done so that people are attracted to the offices. They have what they need, and they feel like they can come there. They feel welcome, and they feel safe and comfortable.
Definitely, as mass adoption of these technologies is happening, they are becoming more and more affordable, for customers from small SMEs to large enterprises. And, we are seeing this adoption accelerating, as well as, it's really important to say that quality of space matters. And as your people, are planning to return to the office, you need to make sure that they are attracted, to it. So they have the reason of why to come back, why to collaborate with people in this, new type of hybrid environment. And another option could be staying at home or working from some other type or location. And we believe that the quality of space is going to be crucial element. So we do encourage you to look at this, try to think how this can be applied for your people, how this can drive a better and healthier space and environment to work in.
So quality over quantity.
Yes.
All right. So just to wrap up our webinar today, we have a question here, and I think we can answer separately. How long would it take to implement your technologies? So if you can...
Sure. So if you're talking about the software component, this can be ready even today. So if you have a floor map, this can be digitalized literally within a few hours. It can be done in a self-serving manner. You can get the software up and running. If you talk about the sensory part, which is different type of devices, it can take up to 4 to 5 weeks to deliver those devices, to manufacture, deliver, and ship them. They are high quality products produced in EU.
Perfect. And in our case, in terms of partitions, acoustic solutions, or the AV technology, the smart eye walls, usually from let's say the design stage to the installation stage, it takes 4 to 5 weeks. So it's also a pretty quick process since we have all in-house manufacturing. So I mean, I think the message is that if you wanna do these changes, the time is now, and the solutions are affordable, and they are ready to be implemented right away. So thank you very much to all our guests. We really appreciate that we were able to utilize your experiences and share it with our other partners and clients. I was recently also asked on what I hope that will not change after pandemic, what will stay. And my answer to that was that I hope that during video calls, everybody will have their camera on. so if there's one more specific takeaway, please, when you're on video calls, turn on your camera. And if you want more details on the specific solutions we talked about, we're able to provide you more information, case studies, or even connect you with the actual users of those spaces so that you can utilize their experience rather than learning on your own errors or mistakes.
Yeah, and please feel welcome to share with this webinar with your colleagues. There will be a recording. We are happy to spread that knowledge and insights, and happy to have a discussion all together. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye bye.